What's up, everybody? Welcome to JL Vids. I'm Logan.
And this is Jordan, and we're excited to break down this week one slate for you.
We're going to be doing this pretty much every week. Well, not pretty much. We're going to be doing this every week of the NFL regular season, as well as giving you guys something we're calling the Big Three. Three guys that we think are instant locks for that week. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video to get our instant locks for that. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. So right off the bat, week one DraftKings pricing is something that they just want to hook you in with.
Yeah, historically very soft pricing all across the board. You can make a ton of great lineups, and that's what they want you to do is just keep putting lineups in.
Absolutely. So there's going to be a lot of guys that throughout the rest of the season are going to be 7 and 8K that this week's going to be 5 and 6.
5 and 6, yep.
So starting out at quarterback here, of course, it shouldn't have, it shouldn't require much thought to know Patty's going to be the highest quarterback on the slate, even on week one.
Even in a tough matchup against Jacksonville, also. He is still the most expensive quarterback by $500. So
yeah. I'm going to have some exposure to Patty, of course, because it's Patrick Mahomes. But for 7,200, there's so many people that you can pay down to at quarterback this week.
Yeah, we'll get into it, but there is a ton of options for salary relief here. I mean, you can definitely play him. We know the upside is there. He can push 35, 40 points, and nobody else really can. So have some, but I would not go crazy with Patty in week one.
You look at his fantasy average, 28 a game.
I mean, nobody's...
Matt Ryan's at 24, but
close.
That's only because of a couple boom games. He truly did not average 24 this season. That's just a couple games that boosted that average way up. So
next, Andrew Luck is retired, so don't play him.
Probably the craziest thing that I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, like Calvin Johnson was a shock or whatever, but it was not in the middle of a preseason game 2 weeks before the season started.
A quarterback that is in his prime, I believe 29 years old.
29, yeah.
Now has the best roster he's ever had and has a real chance to compete for a Super Bowl, and he just retires.
Yeah, so... where I want to go with that, and we'll get to it when we start scrolling down the list, fire up Jacoby Brissett.
We'll get there. But
so somebody this week, as far as a quarterback, we don't have any quarterbacks in our big three this week.
No.
But to give you one of the quarterbacks that I'm going to have a lot of exposure to this week, Jameis Winston. You are paying a little bit for Jameis Winston. He's 6,600. But, I mean...
The upside is there, obviously.
His upside is there, and they're playing against San Francisco. There's going to be no defense on either sides here. Yeah. It's just going to be pure offense on both sides of the field.
And you're going to notice a trend here with our plays, attacking people in high point totals. You can find these point totals on Bovada, anywhere really. And this game right here, I would have to double check it, but it's definitely one of the highest game totals of the week. So automatically fire up the quarterbacks on both sides of the game. Jameis Winston, great play here. He's a little expensive, but I think he's definitely worth it.
He's a little bit higher, like he said. He is a little more expensive as opposed to Garoppolo. You see Garoppolo down here is 5,800. So you can save $800 instantly going to Garoppolo instead of Winston, and it's both going to be just absolute gunslinging.
A lot of attempts, a lot of yards, two high-powered offenses, two bad defenses. I mean, all the boxes are checked there.
Everything that you want. As far as these top-tier guys here, like I said, of course, I'll have some Mahomes exposure, but not as much as some of these cheaper guys down here that we're getting to. I don't love Baker week one.
Week one.
Year-long, I'm all over him. But week one, 6,400. Tennessee's actually got a pretty okay
solid
secondary. I don't love it. Now, on that same side, though, when we get to receivers, I think there's some Cleveland receivers this week that's got a fair shot.
They're underpriced. And, Baker, I feel, is, at the worst, fairly priced. I mean, you're paying up for him. Not a lot, but I think there's just other ways to go this week.
There's just a lot better deals in the quarterback area. Not interested in Russell Wilson, really, at 6,300 week one.
So Seattle wants to run the ball a ton, and Cincinnati is just not very good. So it's not going to be a thing where they're going to have to keep their foot on the gas or anything like that. Russ could be fine, but once again, it's kind of one of those things I think there's better options for cheaper.
Absolutely. I'm not big on Jared Goff. Okay, Jared Goff or Cam Newton, either one's going to be fine because, again, it's going to be a lot
high
of
point total,
a lot of passes thrown, probably a lot of passes completed. But those kind of games to me is receiver games. You play receivers from those games.
Yeah.
And I'm just not interested in Jared Goff or really Cam week 1, unless you want to do some stacks.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that too, but not very interested in Jared Goff. Going down here.
The next guy that really jumps off to me would be, I guess, Phillip Rivers would be decent here at 5,900.
Mm-hmm.
So this game beforehand, I'm sure the total has went down now that Andrew Luck has retired, but this looked like a huge point total, 2 high-powered offenses. I think Brissett is good, but he's obviously not Luck. I'm just slightly worried that the Chargers are now not going to have to keep their foot on the gas quite as much.
Yeah.
And if you check Phillip's log, he's kind of all over the place. They like to run the ball if they can. So you can have some Phillip exposure, but once again, I'm not like super high on him.
Now that Luck has set the entire world on fire and Jacoby Brissett's back there, my exposure to Phillip Rivers maybe a little to none, just because now they're not, like he said, they're not going to have their foot on the gas as much. They're not going to have to really be struggling to keep up. I think it might end up being a blowout, and
it could be very well, and they could be running the ball a lot. I wouldn't be surprised.
So we'll get to that later too. Not interested in Prescott.
No,
at all. I'm just not there. Listen, for $100 cheaper,
so this is the money range. This is the money range, right? I mean, you got just quickly Garoppolo, Wentz, and Allen. I mean, that could be your top 3 guys this week. You can build all your lineups around those 3, and I would feel very confident.
My 2 quarterbacks, I'm going to play some Winston, but again, he's $800 higher, so I'm only going to have him in a couple lineups just because I can save that $800 and pay up somewhere else. But like he just said, listen, Wentz for $5,700 against Washington. I don't care about this 11th opponent ranking. It's Washington.
Yeah.
It is going to be Carson Wentz this is going to be his year. I mean, Carson Wentz is going to be absolutely phenomenal this year. And $5,700, you're never going to get him at that price again.
Great price.
Ever.
Yeah, he I believe, I could be wrong, of course, but I think he's going to be one of those quarterbacks in that Jameis range, that 6,500, 6,400. I think that's where he's going to end up most of the year.
Yes.
So we're getting a discount on him week 1, and there's no reason Washington would just be able to completely stop this high-powered Philly offense with a ton of weapons.
Yeah, you've got $1,000 cheaper on Carson here. Carson Wentz is a fantastic play. And I don't know if he got to did he get to play Washington last year?
Yes, right there towards the end of the year. 24.
24.
So, once again, I know that's not setting the world on fire, but for the price point.
I want to point this out. He slung the ball 39 times and completed it 69%, 306 yards. Listen, he's going to throw the ball.
Yeah.
39 times against Washington. They don't have a good defense.
And just referring to the price, like last year against this same matchup, he was 6,500. So at 6,500, 24 is like okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
But at 5,700, 24 looks a lot better.
Oh, absolutely. Josh Allen, which he touched on, this being the sweet spot for quarterbacks right here. Josh Allen, as we know, has a strange rushing upside.
Yeah, huge rushing upside.
Look at this, 9 for 95. I mean, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I know this is kind of a standout game.
Yeah, that is an outlier.
Because he has 41, but if you just want to say that's an outlier, though, 5 for 30, 9 for 16, 9 for 101. He's not getting in the end zone as much.
9 for 135.
This is just a quarterback, man, for the Bills, too. He rushed 13 times.
So
that's just such a good floor for him.
Yeah.
He's going to get you at least 4 or 5, 6 points rushing.
Yeah, so, and then it's kind of the thing, like, he's just going to be safe. We talked about with that floor. So, like, he makes a great cash game quarterback to me in week 1. I mean, obviously, he's not always going to have the upside because he's just not a great thrower of the football yet. And he doesn't have a ton of great weapons. He may not get in the end zone a lot. But that rushing floor for a quarterback at this price point is very, very intriguing.
And it's against the Jets, too, mind you. The thing about him at 56, it's not a huge discount.
No.
I mean, it's not. He generally stays between 56 and 6. He probably capped out at 6. Yeah. So this isn't a huge discount, but the matchup is sweet here. Against New York Jets, man, look, last year he had 24. He rushed 9 times for 101 against the Jets.
Yeah.
Threw 50%. 18 for 36 is not that great, I think he only got better. Threw 2 picks. I get it. Listen, I'm all for Josh Allen, and he's added some weapons, his
Yeah.
receiving core too, John Brown.
And he has some sneaky tournament upside also now because we know he has a huge arm. And he's got John Brown, who's a great deep threat down the field. So if they can connect on 1 or 2 long passes, get a couple long touchdowns, man, he could absolutely smash 5,600.
I'm going to have a lot of Josh Allen. A lot of Josh Allen. Somebody I'm pretty big on, but I also think everybody's going to be pretty heavy on is Kyler Murray. I also have him in year-long fantasy, so I feel like I'm almost obligated to be big on him. But Kyler Murray, the only thing that scares me about Week 1 is Detroit's very run-heavy, and they're really slow-paced.
Yeah.
Really slow. And I'm feeling Arizona's going to be the same way. They're just going to play the same, match their pace, not get worn down. That's where, to me, David Johnson is a fantastic Week 1 play. As far as Kyler, Week 1, maybe a little exposure if you stack him.
I believe I'm going to be underweight also. It's also his first NFL game. We got to realize, of course, he's extremely talented.
Yeah.
He's just really good. But be careful here. Like, Detroit is not a complete pushover of a defense, and he doesn't have, like, the best weapons in the world around him or anything outside of David Johnson. So, like, this could be a game where he kind of gets flustered in his first start ever and doesn't play particularly well. And he's going to be very popular. So, I think I'm going to be underweight there, but I understand the play.
The last guy I want to talk about on the quarterback list is somebody that we're not real big on year long.
Outside of Brissett, of course.
Oh, yeah, well, Brissett. We'll get to Brissett, but not real big on year long. Nick Foles, Week 1 here at 5,300 against Kansas City again. Probably a high point total, and if it's not, I don't necessarily mean even. Kansas City should run away with this, right?
Yeah.
So in theory, Jacksonville's going to be playing from behind. They're not going to be running the ball.
No,
they're going to be absolutely slinging it down the field, and we know Nick Foles is a pretty good quarterback.
Right.
We saw what he can do. I just think that they're going to be playing from behind, and Nick Foles is going to be forced to throw this ball a lot.
Yeah. So you're going to be sitting here saying to yourself, why would I play Nick Foles, right? Like Week 1. Kansas City, soft defense for the most part. Should be ahead. So I could see Nick Foles having to throw the ball 40 times at 5.3K. And he has a real connection, it looks like, with D.D. Westbrook. So I love this spot for him. We know the upside is there. Of course, be careful because it is Nick Foles and it is Jacksonville. They could just go out there and score 0 points. Like, that is possible. But if they keep their foot on the gas and they can move the ball late in the second half, he could turn out a sneaky 20, 22-point performance at 5.3K and just smash.
And my thing with Nick Foles, you've basically got 3 things that can happen, and 2 of them are positive. One is what he just said, Jacksonville goes out there and gives you a goose egg, which entirely possible is Jacksonville, and it is Nick Foles. The other 2 things, though, is Kansas City blows them out, and like I said, they play from behind. The other option is, for some reason, Jacksonville competes with Kansas City. Let's say Kansas City was the biggest fluke of all time last year, and Jacksonville goes out there and runs neck to neck with them. It's still going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah,
and
regardless.
he's going to be throwing the ball, and I'm sorry, Leonard Fournette's not going out there and rushing 35 times.
Yeah.
So you've got a 66% chance in my head of Nick Foles being a great play.
Yeah. And, like, it's hard for him to honestly kill you unless he goes out there and is just completely awful. Like, if he gets you, you know, obviously you want more than 15, but, like, 15 doesn't completely kill you either.
And I don't think Nick Foles is going to be too chalky Week 1.
No, I don't either.
I really don't. Now,
scrolling down, like,
Jacoby Brissett is going to be listen, $4,400.
I'm not 100% because this is early. This hasn't been a thing for long. I'm assuming he's going to be chalk. Because he's 4,400. Like, he is so freaking cheap.
And Jacoby's not bad. And the thing about Brissett is at 4,400, he's not going to lose you the game, I promise.
No.
He might not, throw you to the top of tournaments. He ain't going to lose the game.
So, before the Luck retirement, we were saying they had one of the highest powered offenses in the NFL. That doesn't necessarily change. Like, they still have a great offensive line. They still have T.Y. Hilton on the outside. They still got a big target in Funchess. They got multiple tight ends that can do different things. Good running backs that can catch out of the backfield. Like, Brissett's in a good spot here still. So, I'm going to be pretty popular on him. I wouldn't go too crazy, though, because he is Jacoby Brissett. Like, there is people in this 5,000 range that are just so much safer and so much more upside to me. But I like Jacoby Brissett. I
But
just
the
do.
thing about Brissett is he's in the price range of backups because that's what he was.
That's what he
He's
is.
down here with Tannehill and Schaub and
Nick Mullins.
Chad Henne, who's not even going to be playing. So he's down there in that range. So if you're just wanting to stack some kind of crazy lineup and save a ton of money,
Yeah.
throw Jacoby Brissett in a couple, but don't have 100%
Yeah,
exposure.
and quickly in a normal week, I feel like this would be just like the lock. You wouldn't even think about it, but like you don't necessarily need the salary relief as much this week. We'll kind of get into it. Like there's a ton of cheap running backs, a ton of cheap wide receivers. Like you won't necessarily have to just like go get that salary relief. I don't think.
Not at quarterback.
Not at quarterback.
So moving on to running back, which I believe me and him can agree is there is the most value in this position I've ever seen in DraftKings ever on week 1. We'll talk about chalk later on as we go.
Yeah.
So right off the bat here, Zeke is 9,200. And I do believe Zeke's going to be fine. He's going to play. Zeke's 9,200 and Barkley's 9,000. Both of these guys right here, I promise you, are going to be fine in this game.
Yeah.
I promise. But 9K.
9K is a lot, but you will have the salary this week. So if you want to pay up, I would probably rank them Zeke and then Barkley. I actually probably would put McCaffrey ahead of Barkley for ranking these very top end guys. I'm just not a believer on the Giants right now. It just scares me at this price, 9,000. He has to go out there and really, really play well.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be so much easier for Zeke.
He's gonna get you 30 pretty much.
Yeah, you got to think Dallas is gonna be playing from ahead at home. I would like Zeke over Barkley if you're paying up.
I'm kind of with him though on these top 3. Out of these top 3, McCaffrey for me is somebody that I will have exposure to.
Could be somewhat low owned. Also, I think most people will pay up to Elliott and Barkley. When they do pay up.
And that's what I wanted to get at with chalk here. You'll see as we keep going down. This top box right here down to Le'Veon, honestly down to Nick Chubb probably, I don't think many people's going to be paying here because as you'll see as we go down, there are so many running backs at 5K that you can save $2,500.
So just like a really quick glance, like people are going to be scared to play McCaffrey because the matchup. David Johnson's going to get ownership. Melvin Gordon's probably not even going to play. But nobody's wanting to play Le'Veon Bell because of the new system and everything. Nobody's trying to play Joe Mixon. So, like, somebody's got to get played up here. I mean, I think it's going to be your top 2, Zeke and Barkley. So, I think you can, like, sneak into McCaffrey.
Yeah. And, guys, we've played around with lineups on our own. You can put Zeke and Barkley in there and still have a really good lineup this week. That's never going to happen again.
It's going to be very hard.
My guy at the top of this list, well, 2, but my main one I'm going to have exposure as far as expensive guys is David Johnson for the reason I said earlier.
Yeah.
Detroit's run heavy. It's Kyler's first NFL game ever. It's week 1. I think they're just going to match that pace. David Johnson, it's going to be his best year.
Yep.
He is going to get an absolute workload week 1.
Don't be surprised here in a couple weeks he's in the Barkley, McCaffrey, Elliott range. Like, he is on that
He's going to
level.
be mid-8s, high-8s, easy. I also really like Le'Veon because I just don't think many people's going to try to play him.
Yeah.
And another thing, too, we talked about with Buffalo, Sam Darnold's got an arm, too. And I think that they're going to be trying to throw the ball a lot. But I think what Le'Veon makes out of his touches, it's not going to be like Pittsburgh. He's not going to have 30 carries a game.
Yeah.
But I think what he does with his touches, he's got a lot to prove to the world. I mean, I know this isn't much, but, you know, when he said, like, I'm sorry to everybody who drafted me last year.
Yeah.
He knows about DraftKings and fantasy football. Listen, he's a weird dude, and this is going to be his – like, he's going to go out there and just prove to the world that he's still on top.
Yeah.
And against Buffalo, you can't ask for a better matchup.
Yeah,
like
so obviously from going from Pittsburgh to the Jets, you're taking a personnel dip here as far as just talent across the board, especially at receiver, at quarterback even. The talent is just not going to be there. I think he could honestly get not the same workload, very similar. Like, I think he's their guy. I think 20, 25 touches is in play. And if I can get Le'Veon Bell at 20, 25 touches at 7.1 in a matchup that doesn't scare me, and is going to be low owned, fire him up in tournaments.
Even if we don't know the system,
yeah,
play him. Anybody, listen, a Le'Veon Bell caliber player, 20 touches, fire him up.
Yeah.
Almost anybody, you're guaranteed getting 20 touches. Like, play him at $7,100.
Right.
Joe Mixon week 1 does not interest me, but year long, I think I'm going to be on Joe Mixon a lot.
Not week 1. Seattle plays so slow and they want to run, and Cincinnati is down AJ Green. it's going to be hard for them to move the ball. But I will say, if they are moving the ball, it's because of Joe Mixon.
Absolutely. And not interested in Chubb. Tennessee actually has a pretty good run defense.
But also we can't just completely discard him here because I think Cleveland's better than the Titans. And if they're in that goal line, like he's going to be their goal line back, like I don't think he's going to have a huge yardage day. I don't think over 100-something yards is really in the question. But like a couple of touchdowns would do it at 6,400. He's not priced in that 7.5, 8K range where you need him to just be great. You just need him to be good and fall in the end zone. And I think he could do that by just being a part of such a great offense.
Oh, yeah. 6,100 for Fournette this year. He's going to be a third down back.
They've already said it.
I'm a big Fournette guy. I'm an LSU fan. But listen, I don't have to go there, and I'm not going to.
Right. And the main reason you don't have to go there is the next guy down, which chalk of the week probably.
One of our big three guys, and we know he's chalky. Dalvin Cook at 6K. Just plug him in and just play him.
Forget about it. You can go back if you're not sure how good this matchup actually is for Dalvin. Go look at what running backs, pass-catching backs specifically, done against Atlanta last year. It was absolutely incredible. I think Kamara had a 16-catch game on 18 targets. I'm not going to say he's going to get 18 targets, but he's going to be involved in the passing game. And he's going to be able to run all over them. He's only $6,000.
Look right here. 6,900 is where he capped out last year after he had a 32-point game.
And that's with him being hurt a lot of last year.
That's with him being pretty wounded all year long.
So we're getting a healthy Dalvin Cook here. Underpriced. Great matchup. Like, don't overthink it. Play Dalvin Cook.
And, you look at, like he said, he fought injuries all year. 14, 12, 2, 14, 3. Not that great. When he came back around, listen, 16, 18, 19, 32, 13, and this right here is just not a good matchup.
Yeah.
He's healthy again. I mean, he's ripping 85-yard touchdowns in preseason.
Yeah, he looks great. I think his floor is like 18 points.
Absolutely.
So, go crazy. I think he's got 30, 35-point upside in this great matchup. Fire him up.
Play Dalvin Cook. Don't think about it. Now, listen, on that same note, don't have 100% exposure to Dalvin Cook because he's going to be probably one of the two chalkiest people on this slate. He is going to be
I hate to bring up the thing that could happen. Like, he is injury prone. If he gets hurt and he's something ridiculous, 40% owned, and you don't have him, you've got a huge leg up on the field. So just don't go 100%, but obviously play a lot of Dalvin Cook.
Play a lot of Dalvin. Somebody that I'm really big on all year long, not just week one, but especially week one, I'm going to have a lot of exposure. He's not in our big three. We talked about it, and we decided there was a better pick. But for me, I'm going to have probably too much of him. Kerryon Johnson, man. We already talked about Detroit being super run-heavy. They're playing slow. Listen, they're going to be running the ball a lot right here against Arizona. Arizona does not have a defense, and especially a run defense. You can see right here they're 27th. Kerryon's the guy. Kerryon's the guy now.
He's their lead back. They've traded away Theo Riddick on pass down, so he will get a lot more passing down work. And, there's a chance he still gets vultured at the goal line by C.J. Anderson now instead of LeGarrette Blount. But just don't overthink this. You're getting a guy probably pushing 25 touches for 5,800 in a great matchup, and he's a great player. Don't overthink it.
He's a very underrated back to me. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for, and this is going to be the year that he comes out and proves that.
Yep.
Somebody we've not talked about a lot, but is definitely interesting, is Chris Carson.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about how Seattle is going to be run heavy, just like Detroit, and we didn't like Russell Wilson in that matchup. Well, Chris Carson is the alternative to that.
Right, absolutely.
Chris Carson is going to be getting a big workload.
Yeah.
Especially week one here. Cincinnati's not going to be great. They're going to see that Chris Carson's getting 7 yards a carry. They're going to keep giving it to him.
So the thing last year with Carson was he was in a full-blown committee with multiple other backs. The opportunity, the volume wasn't quite there for him.
No.
So that's why he's priced in this range. I like the matchup. I like their style. They're going to use him a lot. Probably not 25 touches, probably somewhere in the 15 to 20 range. But the great matchup, playing from ahead, going to get the goal line work. I like Chris Carson.
Absolutely. Marlon Mack now, originally, I was all over him.
Yeah.
I'm too scared now. I'm sure he's going to be fine. He's 5,600.
Yeah.
Marlon Mack now, I just don't know what's going to happen with Brissett back there.
Yeah,
I
so
really don't.
you getting the lead back in a high-powered offense, like presumably whenever they had luck, he looked incredible just based on his touchdown upside and his ability week to week. I mean, he had like 11 touchdowns last year, and there's no reason this year he shouldn't improve upon that. So each week he'd be playable, especially if he's 5,600.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has some pass catching skills, even though they didn't utilize him in that way last year. You'll see, go to the game log here, like 3 targets, 1 target. Like they just didn't utilize him in that passing game role. But I think they will start to do that this year. He does have that skill set.
And something I think about with what he just said is Brissett, it's almost going to be kind of a Saquon Barkley thing. I think Brissett's going to have to dump it off a lot.
Yeah.
Because he's just not an elite quarterback. Like, he's good. But if he has to dump it off, Marlon Mack's the dude getting it.
Right.
So I think that not just dumping off in terms of getting scared, but I think they're going to involve him more in that because Brissett is not Andrew Luck.
Right.
They can use him as a passing back now and still not just have a strict run game, have a little bit of a passing game, but involving Marlon Mack in that.
And you can see 25 touch games towards the end of the season last year. They finally started to utilize him in that full way. And plus, with 3 targets, he pushed 28 touches.
Yep.
So in order for them to be successful, especially in week 1, like he's going to have to average 4 or 5 yards a carry on 20 touches. And if he does that, you can see on the ride 26, 22 fantasy points. Absolute smash.
Yep. I'm not going to have a lot of Marlon Mack exposure, and that could come around and kill me. But I guess we'll find out. Somebody that should be almost a no-brainer.
Now, especially.
Now, Eckler, man. I almost wanted to play Eckler if Melvin Gordon was going to play because I did that last year. Of course, obviously a little different circumstances, but Eckler, if he's going to be 5,500 and the starting back.
Yeah. Now presumably playing from ahead. Great pass catcher out of the backfield. We know he can do that. He's got that in his skill set also. This is what we're talking about. We've probably rolled off how many 4 or 5 guys straight in this price range
that
are he's probably not going to be a lead back in the sense of 25 carries because they have Justin Jackson, who's a quality back also. But if you can get 15, 20 touches in a game where they're going to be ahead, and he's like super efficient with his touches, by the way. I mean, you can look there. I mean, he's got some crazy efficiency. Love Austin Eckler. His ownership is probably going to go up now more than it was originally.
But if you can, listen, I know these aren't great fantasy as far as point numbers. If you can get 11, 8, 15, 13 touches out of him for 5,500.
And pass game involvement. Like right there.
And pass game involvement too, and especially with, like, there's no one else really soaking up the touches except
Justin Jackson.
I like Eckler a lot right here.
Yeah.
Because now, like he said, presumably we should be playing from ahead here. So they're going to be running. I mean, they're just going to be running. They're doing little dump-off passes. Devontae Freeman whatsoever does not interest me.
No, there's so many other guys. The guy right below him, Mark Ingram. Love Mark Ingram in week 1. That matchup against the Dolphins is fantastic. Baltimore, just a way better team, way better defense. Like, this defense can turn you over. And Fitzpatrick, as he has some crazy upside, he will turn the ball over also.
Fitzpatrick's my dude. Don't say nothing about Fitzpatrick.
So
instant lock for me.
So maybe you're looking at some short field situations here for the Ravens. I love Mark Ingram, the touchdown upside. I mean, there's a couple of backs behind him that could steal some touches, but no goal line work will be taken from him at all. 5,100, 2 touchdowns looks very good for him right here. And if he gets 15 carries, I mean, that's only extra.
Literally the only concern with Mark Ingram at all is that he could get vultured on some touchdowns by Lamar just because of his rushing potential. And they already said they're going to keep him to like 12 rushes a game, which is terrifying for as good as he is and a quarterback as far as just playing against him.
Yeah.
He could get vultured a little bit if they're at the goal line. They could obviously have a design play for Lamar to run around. But like he's saying, Ingram can easily get in the end zone twice here against Miami, and then if he carries the ball 15 times too, at $5,100, oh my God, there's no reason not to play him.
And I don't think he's going to get crazy pass game work or anything, but the reason he didn't get it at the Saints, we got to realize, is because they have Kamara, who's like the best pass catching back in the game. He has that skill set, Now, will they utilize him in that way week 1? That's something we're just going to have to wait and see on. But even if he can sneak 3 or 4 targets and catch a couple of them, that's only extra.
I personally don't think they're going to use him that way just because of Lamar.
Yeah.
It's not, if it was Joe Flacco back there, maybe. Just because it's Lamar, I just don't think that they're going to – it's just not in his play style as a quarterback to do that.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram, for me personally, I wanted to lock him in there, but we do have 2 other picks. Listen, we try to refrain from doing 2 running backs. But
Yeah.
Listen, you plug Dalvin and Mark Ingram in there, and you're at 11.1 thousand for 2 guys that are going to get at least like 20, 25 touches each.
You can go crazy.
It's a no-brainer, man. Throw Patty and Travis Kelce in there.
Yeah.
You can afford it. My thing is, though, again, we know Mark Ingram and Dalvin Cook are probably the chalkiest dudes on the slate.
Yeah.
I mean, they are going to be so high-owned. Especially Mark Ingram. I think Mark Ingram's getting so much hype in media and just all over because of what he was at New Orleans as the second guy.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Ingram, even though he's almost 30, he's one of the best backs that's in the league still, in my opinion. Yeah, he's got age on him, but just Mark Ingram's going to take off this year. Scrolling on down here, to me, there's not really anybody.
This is the dead range for running backs.
In this dead range, so 5,100 to me is the bottom.
Yeah.
The only guy, in my personal opinion,
Pollard, right? If Zeke sits, obviously Pollard becomes the chalk of the entire slate.
Absolutely.
But that's strictly if Zeke does not play.
Somebody, if you want to have an absolute dart throw, and what I mean by that is put it in tournaments and just hope this is the guy that excels you. C.J. Anderson, man, it's going to be a run-heavy game, and let's say they do run the score up. C.J. Anderson's the third down guy. Like, he's going to punch it in the end zone if they're there, probably. That's what we were talking about, scared with carry on. He's 3,900, probably not going to lose you the game, but he's an absolute dart throw, but he could punch it in there.
Please be careful with him because, like we mentioned with carry on getting potentially 25 touches, there's not many more touches to go around for a running back. Like, I don't think he would get anything more than 5, 6, 7 carries. So be careful. You're hoping for a sneaky 2-touchdown game from him. That's what you're hoping for.
But C.J. Anderson, to me, in my opinion, that can happen very easily from him. I'm not saying don't put him in more than just a couple lineups, maybe. But if you're making an off-the-wall lineup with dart throws, you got to throw C.J. Anderson in there, in my head.
The other guy at the same exact price, obviously, is Miles Sanders right there at 3,900. We talked about Philly just being so much better than Washington, having so many weapons. He appears to be the lead back. He appears to be the most talented of all that bunch of Jordan Howard and other guys. If he's getting the goal line work and he's getting that pass game involvement, he's explosive, man. And at 3,900 in a matchup that doesn't really scare me, fire up Miles Sanders if you need the savings at 3,900. I don't know if I'm going to have to go down there a lot. That's my only thing.
That's my thing, too. I was just giving you somebody.
Yeah,
if you have to go down here, those 2 guys are in my head.
I wouldn't go any lower.
No. There's honestly quite a bit of value at wide receiver, too. It's not as much value as at running back and quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there definitely is value here. Of course, your top 4 here, Odell, Julio, Mike, and Tyreek. There's not, in my head, there's no reason to pay up too much. But if you're saving that much money at running back and at quarterback,
naturally you're going to be here.
You're going to spend right here in this top. And while Mike Evans is 7,900, I get it. Mike Evans to me this week, now, one of 2 things, because I'm big on Godwin too. I already talked up Jameis Winston. Both of us did. Godwin's there too, and he's a lot cheaper. I'm big on Godwin, but we know what Mike Evans can do. In my head, paying up right here, I am not paying for Julio against Minnesota. No. I'm going to have 0 exposure, and it might be what kills me. I don't know, because it is Julio Jones.
Yeah.
But Mike Evans, man, right here, like if I'm paying up, I don't think many people's going to pay. They might pay up a little more for wide receiver than we talked about. A lot of people won't pay up at running back. But I think Odell is actually going to be pretty highly owned.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a risky play.
We just don't know. It's a new system.
Something crazy could happen, and Jarvis is Baker's favorite guy. Mm-hmm. Don't know. Or he might only throw to Njoku now.
Or they might
Who knows, man?
They might not have that chemistry right away, right out the gate. So
OBJ's a cocky dude.
But the matchup here with Odell, with Malcolm Butler, is
perfect.
The Odell's obviously great. He can take a slant to the house better than anybody can. get you some Odell exposure, but I think just strictly off game script and game flow and all that, like Mike Evans appears to be the better play. 7,900 is a lot. You would like him closer to low sevens, but the matchup is so good here, and we know this is like a certain thing. We don't know with Odell with the new system. We do know with Mike Evans. It's the same thing. Nothing has changed. So Mike Evans definitely just safer, and the upside is almost as high as Odell's, I would say.
Tremendous. Oh, yeah, absolutely, especially the first week.
Yeah.
Like I said, not interested in Julio. I'm sure I'll probably throw him in somewhere.
A tournament dart for me because
It's Julio.
they're going to see that first, and people are going to run. But keep in mind, he is Julio Jones. Like, he's got crazy ability. He had a 300-yard receiving game, I believe, last year or the year before against Carolina. Like, that's the type of upside this dude has. So I feel like he's in play every single week, but he's way below Odell and Mike Evans.
Yeah. Sprinkle in some Tyreek if you want to. I personally am probably not going there. But
he will get the Jalen Ramsey treatment pretty much strictly. He'll follow him around wherever he goes. The thing with Tyreek, though, he can outrun Jalen Ramsey in a straight line.
He can take the top off of it, too, and we know Mahomes can get it there.
We know Mahomes can get it there. So. Probably the best deep threat I've ever seen outside of Randy Moss, and that alone will always keep him in the conversation. Will I do a lot? No, probably not. But it's hard to full fade a guy like Tyreek Hill whenever he's got like 40-point upside.
Now, going to the next guy here, and we're not going to sit here and list off every guy. I just want to go through these top-tier guys. Keenan Allen, what's scary about Keenan Allen to me is, first of all, Keenan Allen's one of my favorite receivers in the league.
He's awesome.
But what scares me here is the Chargers, we already talked about in theory, they should be playing from ahead. So let's say they are playing from ahead. They're going to be running a lot. So all the work that you're expecting Keenan Allen to get you is going to be in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't go off in the beginning and they get ahead, and it's because of Hunter Henry or because of Eckler or because of
Mike
Williams, and Keenan didn't do it, they're not throwing bomb passes to him in the fourth quarter when they're up 20. Yeah. In theory, if they're up by 20, it might be a tight game. But in my head, they're going to be playing from ahead. Keenan Allen, to me, is pretty risky because you're looking for him to do everything that he's doing at the beginning of the game. Get the first 2 touchdowns of the game.
And a 7.3 to order to be a good play, like he has to go out and really produce and play well. So I would just be careful with Keenan. We talked about it. The game script now is kind of looking more towards run the ball a lot. I think Keenan's going to be safe because he's not like a deep threat guy as much. He's kind of like comeback routes and stuff like that. So I think he's going to be safe, maybe for cash, but I'm not in love.
AJ obviously isn't playing. I have no interest in Amari Cooper whatsoever, but I have no faith in Dak Prescott. So
that's how that goes.
Now Thielen is interesting because they're playing against Atlanta. But my thing is right here. If you'll look, Thielen's 68 and Stefon's 67. What Thielen are we going to get? What we don't know. It's the first game of the season. What Thielen are we getting?
Yeah, quickly at his game log. I believe
we getting 4 targets?
Through 11,
or are we getting 13, 10, 12, 19, 13, 12? What are we getting?
Through 11 weeks, I believe he was the number 1 receiver in fantasy. I mean, overall. I mean, just you can see the workload, man.
Yeah, 19, 34,
100
30,
yards
30,
every single game through the first 8 weeks of the season. Dude was just completely on fire, and they were just force-feeding him the ball. But then at the end of the season, right, kind of what he was referring to, you see some like 5, 6, 2, 4, 7 even. Like, the matchup is going to look nice on paper because it's Atlanta and they're terrible against everything on defense. But be careful with Thielen, and you're kind of trying to decide between Thielen or Diggs, right? And for me personally, it's like a skill set thing. I think Diggs is just a better receiver. You can disagree if you want.
Go Stephon, man.
I would, if you're going to go one of these two and you're in this range for a last spot or something, I would go Diggs over Thielen.
Go Stephon Diggs, man. Just do it. Just throw in. Just listen. More consistent overall.
More upside.
Sure, 3 targets, whatever. 9, 4, 11, 10, 8, 10, 13, 8, 5. I was looking at receptions. Well, still, that was a great receptions list.
Yeah.
6, 13, 10, 15, 11, 15, 11, 18. Listen, more consistent. Because even when he's up here at 6 and 7, that's fine. Because of his ability to do what he can after he catches the ball.
Yeah, he is so good.
Very good yards after catch kind of guy.
No T.Y. Hilton for me at all now. It's the thing for me, listening to Brissett and him have a real connection now. They didn't previously whenever Brissett was in there. If they got one now and that's what beats me, that's fine. I've got to see it first
Now,
before I play T.Y.
if you're one of those people that believe in like, I don't even know what to say, maybe just like personal relationships with players, T.Y. after Andrew Luck retired said he's dedicating this season to number 12, his favorite person on earth. T.Y. Hilton might go out here and play his ass off just for Andrew Luck.
And they might force feed him. You never know.
But the thing is, if let's say he's playing at his absolute best, Jacoby Brissett still got to get him the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's what worries me is Jacoby Brissett getting him the ball. He's obviously one of the best wide receivers. He's not going to go out there and just not play.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's obviously going to try to do his best, but it's Jacoby Brissett now that's bothering me. With Andrew Luck, I honestly liked this
As a tournament throw.
as a tournament dart.
Mm-hmm.
With Jacoby, I'm not here. Now,
We'll just quickly, because these dudes are so close to me, and Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods. Kind of whichever your personal preference is. I think mine is Woods. I think yours is Woods also.
Yeah. Brandon Cooks should be the dude for the Rams. He's just not.
The high point total here is great. The price is fine on them. Like, I'm cool with it, but I'm not, like, overly in love with it. So, like, either one of them is just fine to me.
Well, what I want to get at with that, listen, 65 and 64, Cooper's 5,700.
Yeah, so
instant $700 savings, and if you look at their, as far as just an average, if you just want to go straight off that, 17.3, 16.5, 16.3. He did better, but he's still right in the same range.
Yeah.
Obviously, these guys are fine, and Robert Woods had a couple crazy games.
Yeah. And Goff loves Cooper Kupp in the red zone. So
Goff loves Kupp.
So if they're scoring through the air, like, there's a very good chance it's Cooper Kupp catching those touchdowns.
I'm playing Kupp if I'm playing a Rams receiver, man.
That's how I feel also.
I don't love Galladay because we've said it a million times already, going to be a really run-heavy game.
So, and also quickly, this is kind of my pivot position, I would say, because I think he's going to be very popular this week. Arizona is down Patrick Peterson, I believe, due to suspension, and they're down another cornerback from injury.
So in theory,
he's going against some not very good cornerbacks, and he's a pretty good receiver. We do know that.
Yeah.
But the thing with me is he was still inconsistent last year in this exact role. Like, people think this is something new with Kenny Galladay. 15 targets, and that last week, 15 targets, and how many points did he have? It was not a lot. 12. 12 just doesn't get it done, especially in week one. Like, you need guys that are going to 3x, 4x their salary.
6 catches for 58 yards is not getting it done.
on 15 targets, only getting 6 catches is not good enough.
Now, 7 for 8, 146.
Right.
That's another ball game. So he is a little inconsistent.
That's the thing with me. And it's people like, oh, well, he's got this number one role now. Like, this has always been a thing, and he either can put up 2 points or he can put up 25. Just be wary. Like, he is not consistent.
He is a good tournament play, though.
Yeah.
He's very
well, he's going to be highly owned, so
yes,
you got to decide if you're going to eat that chalk or not.
Right. Guys, I already talked about it. Godwin's 62 with Mike Evans being 79. That's $1,700 in savings for Godwin. And I think Godwin is in a fantastic spot this whole year.
Yeah.
Not just this game, this year. Listen, you see what he can do. And we talked about with who did we just talk about playing Atlanta?
The Vikings.
Vikings playing the Diggs and Thielen. Atlanta cannot – listen, 6 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns this last week. Atlanta does not have a pass defense whatsoever. So, obviously, that's a little bit of an outlier.
Yeah.
But – listen,
but it's there throughout the year, though.
It's there.
All are there.
13. I mean, listen, 13 at 4K, 16 at 4.6K, 17 at 4.3. That's good.
Yeah, and so last year he is without a doubt their second option now, no doubt about it. And you can kind of see the inconsistent targets because he wasn't really a true second. He was kind of like a third, even some weeks like a fourth behind Humphreys. Like they really spread it around with OJ Howard. Like, now he's the true number 2 guy. You're hoping for him to push, that 10 targets he gets some weeks, and you can look at the fantasy reduction. Like, it's there when he gets targets.
And I want to throw something else out.
And he gets touchdowns also. Right there's 4 touchdowns in 5 weeks.
I want to throw something else out, though. Now, I'm a Ryan Fitzpatrick. I would kiss his feet if he was here right now. These first 4 games right here are Ryan Fitzpatrick, not Jameis Winston. Yeah. That is something to consider when Jameis comes in here. There's a couple big drop-offs here. But now right here, this is Jameis Winston, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. And 7 for 7, 103. What more do you want? So all year he didn't go past 4.9, and he's at 6.2. And I know 6.2 is a little high.
But the game here, we got to, once again,
The
the game is so good looking for a fantasy
The
perspective.
game is fantastic. And I don't really have an opinion on whether or not Godwin's going to be chalky.
Probably.
I don't know about chalky because he's 6.2, but he is going to be owned.
He's going to be owned, yeah.
That's why I like Mike Evans a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think people's going to pay up for Mike Evans
When
because
they
they're
can
going to play Godwin.
Yep.
And that's why I love Mike Evans. Love Mike Evans first week. There's not a whole lot of more guys.
I mean, Lockett obviously
there's a few more guys here.
Looks good, but you're worried about the volume at, I believe he's 6,000. Yeah, so like he's never going to be a really high target guy in this offense. He's never going to get 8, 10, 12 targets.
Run heavy.
They're going to play action, and they're going to give him some shots deep. You're hoping he cashes in on a couple of them and gets you a touchdown because he done it all last year. That's what he done. He had a great year last year. I like to play. Cincinnati doesn't scare me. They can't really mess with a receiver with his speed. I like him, but just be wary with the volume.
I have a personal vendetta with Alshon Jeffrey, so I'm not playing him.
Too many mouths to feed in Philadelphia for me. I'm not going to play Alshon.
Not playing Tyler Boyd because I just don't know. I mean, AJ's out, and it's the same thing me and him's talked about. Hopkins is his favorite receiver of all time. I love Will Fuller. You know, Will Fuller has to have Hopkins to play. And with AJ out and Tyler Boyd, they're going to be all over Tyler Boyd.
They know that's where the ball's going to go.
That's the only other receiver they have.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd's going to be double teamed to no end. Seattle's got good corners, good safeties.
Yeah.
He's going to be covered up. He could have a great game, but I just think it's going to be hard for Andy to get him the ball.
Yeah.
We already talked about Cooper.
Jarvis, I'm in wait-and-see mode on Jarvis. I got to see what the connection is going to be with Baker. Similar sense to what Odell, but Odell obviously is just on another level talent-wise. So I can play some Odell. I'm going to wait and see on Jarvis.
I'm an LSU guy, though, so Landry and Odell both, I hope they have the best seasons of their career because I'm not an NFL fan of anybody because of DraftKings and fantasy.
Yeah.
I'm pulling for the Browns hard, but I think most of the country is. Somebody we talked about a little bit, DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Moore is 5,500. This game right here, I think, is going to be a little bit of an air raid, and if it's not an air raid, it's at least going to be a high point total, which makes almost anybody on Carolina a good play.
Yeah,
McCaffrey, the receivers, and we'll get to somebody that we is in our big three.
Yeah,
but DJ Moore is not a bad play.
Not a bad play.
But there's just better options.
So like the draw to DJ Moore is that he is the wide receiver one in a high total game with a solid quarterback and everything is there. But like McCaffrey might as well be the wide receiver one also. Like that's where a lot of targets are going to go. And we'll get to him here in a minute. I prefer somebody else for cheaper on the Carolina receiving core that I'm going to play over DJ Moore.
When originally, of course, this isn't really premeditated too much. We've obviously looked at the lists, but Pettis I originally was on, but 5,400 for Pettis is pretty high. But the only thing here, it's like Godwin. This game right here.
Yeah, it's all about the game.
It's all about the game. 54 is a little high for Pettis, just because of who he is, but he is a good receiver. And it's the same thing. Normally, I'm probably not paying 5,400 for Pettis, but it's the same thing as Godwin. I mean, it's the same exact game.
Yeah.
It's going to be just absolute air raid, I think, right here. And Garoppolo, I'm a big, well, you are too, big Garoppolo believer. He's going to throw the ball 40 times. And Pettis has to catch some of them.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's a deep guy.
So, personally, the only thing that scares me with Pettis, I would, fire him up, no doubt about it, no questions asked. He's kind of struggled in camp. You can buy into that as much as you would like. I just wish he would have shown a little bit more in camp. You can kind of, if you'll scroll down through the news there.
Minor groin injury.
Minor groin injury, but, he's just struggled in camp. There's other receiver that's looked better. And we're not sure with Garoppolo what his targets are going to look like, what his usage is going to look like.
You say he's still trying to compete for a role in the team.
Yeah, so
a couple weeks
in
ago.
theory, he's the wide receiver one, but this is something that's very fragile. This could change at any time. For me, we'll get to him in a minute, but Kittle is the guy. And everything else is kind of just a question mark and a dart throw for me.
We're starting to get into range here that there's a couple more guys I like.
Tournament options quickly. Mike Williams and Rob Anderson are in the same kind of boat as far as just guy that can take the top off. If they catch a couple, they'll smash. If they don't, they're going to kill you. Just know the risk here with some of these guys.
5,200 for, I call Robbie Anderson Rotten Rob. I'm a Ryan Fitzpatrick fan. I'm a Rob Anderson fan. And as I said, I like them both. And when Rotten Rob played with Fitzpatrick, that was the best years of my life. 5,200 is a little high.
Yeah.
And Buffalo's got a good defense. But that kind of doesn't matter for Robbie Anderson. He's matchup proof.
Yeah, in the sense he's just going to catch a long pass or he's not.
He's going to catch 2 for 3 for 2 touchdowns, or he's going to catch 1 for 20. He's boom or bust big time. So that's kind of what he's talking about here. If you want to throw him in there as a dart throw, because I'm obviously going to. If you're going to somewhere, that's fine. But don't just sit there and play him. At 5,200 especially. Yeah. No way. Going down through here. The
next guy that stands out to me is D.D. Westbrook. I mean, we're going to talk about him. We mentioned that we liked Foles and that they were going to be playing from behind against Kansas City and all these things line up for D.D. Westbrook. And we've seen in the preseason now, Nick Foles has a connection with D.D. Like, it's a real thing. And he's so underpriced at 4,800. He's got the talent, got the skill. He could push 10 targets in this game, and I wouldn't be shocked.
Nope.
So I love DD.
I don't hate a Foles Westbrook stack.
Yeah. If you haven't connected the dots.
Now there's just a few guys here that I want to talk about before we move on to tight end, and then we'll wrap this up. I'm not interested here a lot, especially Sanu, but two guys right here. Kirk does interest me, but as we talked about, I think Arizona's going to run a lot. So I think David Johnson's the guy to play as far as on Arizona's side. It's Kyler's first game. Don't know what he's going to do. Don't even know if Kirk's the guy.
Yeah.
However, he is a good dart throw because I think Kirk is a very good player. And obviously Kyler's a good player as far as what we've seen in college and preseason. I think Kirk could go out there and absolutely just smash. But it's not necessarily safe.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing we talked about with the Browns in the sense, like new quarterback coming in. It's kind of a new system, new offensive coordinator. Kind of want to wait and see on Christian Kirk. But if you want to jump on early and try to predict this thing, go for it. I think Detroit's going to run the ball a lot, maybe try to keep it away from them, and they're going to try to, at the same time, feed David Johnson on their side.
Yeah.
So just be careful with Christian Kirk.
And I don't even know if this is like a DraftKings wide rule or if this is just something me and him do, but generally you're wanting 3X out of these guys, at least to be safe. So at 4,700,
looking for about 15.
Looking about 15 points. He gets 5 catches and falls in the end zone.
There you go.
There you go. And that's very, very doable.
Yeah.
Very doable. Detroit's not the best defense. Listen, it's very doable. It's just he might only get 1 target. I mean, we don't know.
We just don't know yet.
But as far as year long, I think Christian Kirk is going to be, honestly, a really good receiver.
And then next up, we got the revenge game narrative that I love. Deshaun Jackson back to Washington, playing for Philly, 4,500. It's just too cheap, and it's a high-powered offense with a quarterback that can get him the ball. We know that, and he's one of the best deep threats you're going to find in the league. At 4,500, he can pay it off in 1 catch.
Yep.
1 60-yard touchdown, he'll pay off the tag, and he's done it time and time again. I love Deshaun Jackson at 4,500.
I absolutely love him, and Jordan is a bigger believer than I am in the whole revenge narrative thing, but if there was a revenge game,
here it is.
It's this one. Not interested in Marquise Lee. Somebody that I'm going to have a lot of, I'll tell you right now, is John Brown.
And we mentioned him earlier. The connection with Allen, he can get the ball down the field to him deep, and you're going to look at the game log with John Brown and say, well, he didn't get targets last year at Baltimore. Well, that's because they didn't throw the ball with Lamar Jackson at all. John Brown, he's not going to get a ton of targets or anything, but like the quality of looks here down the field, I like John Brown.
I'm going to have a lot of John Brown exposure. Listen, 4,300 again, 2 or 3, 4 catches, falls in the end zone.
Boom.
And it will happen too. This is against the Jets. This is against the Jets. And it's kind of one of those things we talked about with Keenan. They might be playing from way ahead, possibly. And you're wanting him to do all the work in the beginning, but he's 4,300.
Yeah.
He's not 7K.
Right.
He's 4,300. So if he only gets you 10, he didn't kill you because you paid 4,300 for
Kind of
him.
the similar thing with Deshaun Jackson, like 1 play. He can do it for you in 1 play. Like he has that upside.
Now, for our second guy in the big 3, which may surprise you.
May or may not.
Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, is to both of us an absolute no-brainer.
No brainer. We've talked about point totals a lot throughout the episode, and same thing with the Rams and the Panthers here. Huge point total, two good teams. Yeah, the Rams, on theory, have a pretty good defense as far as talent goes, but they struggled at times last year. You're going to see the targets up and down, but he does have some 13 targets, 8 targets sprinkled in there. He is really good. If you'll scroll down in his player news down there, you'll see he has looked like the best player at training camp for the Carolina Panthers.
Was the best player on offense throughout training camp.
The whole offense. And that's with Christian McCaffrey being there on offense.
And before that, consistent standout. Like, he's really impressing.
Really came in this year. Looks like he is awesome. He's got huge ability in space to make people miss. 4,200 is way, way, way too cheap.
Well, now to say that's too cheap, for last year, that was not. That was about right. He was even down here in the 3,000s at the beginning before he started getting used. But this year is a totally different thing. I think Curtis has earned his spot, and he's going to get his workload now.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing. We're kind of trying to jump on it before everybody else does. I'm thinking he's going to be popular because people have just talked him up in the DFS world. But get you some Curtis Samuel, man. Like, I'm going to be so overweight on Curtis Samuel.
Oh, yeah. But he's part of our core here. Really like him, and honestly, down this far, if you want to talk about Jamison Crowder,
so yeah, I'm gonna group these guys together because they're very similar to me. It's two slot receivers here, Adam Humphries and Jamison Crowder, pretty similar players in the sense to me here, as they're not going to be guys that's going to like win you a tournament, but they're probably not going to kill your lineup either.
No,
it depends what you're looking for out of that last spot. Like if you're looking for somebody that's going to win you a tournament, Deshaun Jackson, Curtis Samuel, right? If you're looking for somebody to not kill your lineup, like more of a cash game play, Crowder and Humphries are there. We're expecting good, steady targets, and they're both really good slot receivers, but they're going to be close to the line of scrimmage. Not a lot of touchdown expectation with these guys, so that's why they're priced here, but I like them both for what they're supposed to do.
Absolutely. Getting down in here, there's not really
just dart throws. I mean, if you have a feeling on somebody like this guy.
I do have a good feeling on Marquise Goodwin. Which is my last guy down here in the wide receivers. Listen, 4K, he's strictly a deep threat guy in my head. We already talked about so many times. If you can't tell, we're going to have some game stacks here. Yeah. It's going to be an air raid, man. Listen, Marquise Goodwin can take the top off and get down there, and Garoppolo's got an arm.
Yeah.
At 4K, he's a one-play guy too. He gets you a 50-yard touchdown at 4K.
Outside of Tyreek Hill, probably one of the fastest guys in the league, man. He's got like track star speed. I mean,
he's one of my favorite receivers, just as far as pure skill. But I know what you're thinking. That's funny to say, but
please be careful with Marquise Goodwin. Like, he could go out and literally not get targeted, and I wouldn't be shocked.
Nah.
So just be careful. Just please be careful.
100% exposure. All right, so we'll talk about tight end and defenses, and we'll wrap this thing up. There's not a lot to talk about with tight end, other than. Listen, this went last year. Play Patty and Kelsey somewhere.
Yeah,
it don't matter.
Get your exposure.
Doesn't matter who they're playing against. Doesn't matter what the matchup is. Doesn't matter how their season's been. Play Patty and Kelsey somewhere.
Yeah.
Have a stack. And this week, you can pay 9.2 and 7.1 for them too and still have all kinds of room everywhere else.
Right, because we have talked about all the value. Like, most weeks, this value is not going to be here, and I would say, well, maybe for the price, like, I'm probably not going to play Kelsey, right? But this is a week where you can justify and you can fit him very easily. So Kelsey is an all-go for me, but getting to the next guy, we've already talked about him. He's the next in the big three. George Kittle, man. Talked about the game already a ton. I'm not even going to mention it anymore. He's just really freaking good at football. And I think Garoppolo is going to fall in love with this dude. He didn't really get to play much with him last year. He broke the receiving record last year for tight ends. And he gets a better quarterback. He gets a quarterback upgrade. I love George Kittle. It's that easy.
And there's not a lot to talk about with tight end. Last year, basically, the question was, do I play Kelsey, Ertz, or Kittle? Mm-hmm. That was basically, if you're paying up for tight end, do I play Kelsey, Ertz, or Kittle? Zach Ertz is going to be fine against Washington, but with Kittle and Kelsey,
so much ahead.
I'm going around Ertz week 1 and playing Kittle or Kelsey.
And even going down below Ertz, like O.J. Howard, we talked about the game already. I'm not as high as some other guys on O.J. Howard, but like the game is perfect for O.J. Howard, and he's got touchdown ability. Like they love him. They love him in the red zone.
And there's 3 tight ends that I just briefly want to just scrape by. In this price range up here, 48 and 5, because then it drops down significantly.
Mm-hmm.
In 48 and 5, Evan Ingram, there's no one else to throw the ball to except Sterling Shepard. OBJ's gone. I think Ingram is really, because what makes Ingram and Barkley good is Eli's inability to throw a football.
Yeah, down the field.
Ingram's not going to run 30-yard routes. He's a tight end. When he runs a route, it's going to be little slants. It's going to be little curls, little comebacks. It's going to be 10, 12, 13-yard passes.
A catch every single time.
And if it's near him, he's going to grab the ball.
Yeah.
I really like Ingram at this price, but somebody that I think me and him both will have some exposure on, and I have him in year long. I had to snatch him up. Hunter Henry, man, 3,900. This is going to be Hunter Henry. Like, he's one of my breakouts for the year. This is going to be an absolute breakout season for him.
I'm a Hunter Henry truther. Last year, I had the ACL going on, which sucked. He would have had a great year last year. But, now he's finally healthy all throughout training camp, got some preseason action. He is ready to go. He's fully healthy. Indianapolis struggled last year with tight ends, as you can see, with the 27th rank. Cheap price. I love Hunter Henry. And, of course, we talked about with Keenan Allen, like, yeah, they're not going to throw the ball a lot, but typically tight ends are used in the red zone, right? More. So Hunter Henry has more touchdown expectation for half the price, right?
Yeah.
I love Hunter Henry.
Be careful here, but somebody me and him both played a lot last year, and someone I almost feel as if it's a tradition. I have to have him every week somewhere. Njoku, again, it's a new system. He's got a lot more people now that Baker can throw the ball to. Njoku might not get a lot, but at the end of the day, he's a red zone monster.
Yeah.
And again, 3,700. If he gets a touchdown, a few catches,
there you go.
You're okay, and it's so easy for him. He's, in my head, one of the strongest people in the NFL as far as just knocking you out of the way and getting the football. So be careful.
Yeah, please be careful. But the next guy I want to talk about is somebody you've talked about to me a lot, is Jack Doyle at 3,400. So we know I was kind of iffy on him because Eric Ebron is a thing, obviously, especially in the red zone. Mm-hmm. And Luck seemed to like Eric Ebron more last year for the most part. But now we got Jacoby Brissett back. Brissett strikes me more as the dude that's going to play closer to the goal line, kind of play it safe, and that's what Jack Doyle is. At 3,400, if you want to bring him up real quick and look at his earlier game logs before he got hurt, a lot of targets. 10 targets week 1, 5, 7. So, like, the targets are there. I don't expect a touchdown or anything out of him, but at 3,400, you don't need a touchdown, right? Like, if he gets 5, 7 targets in this game, playing from behind potentially.
He gets 7 catches for 60, gets you 12 points, boom.
There you go. You're in position. And if he falls in the end zone and gets you 19, you're set.
He does this right here. He catches 6 out of 7, 70 yards and a touchdown.
You're set. So,
and I don't think Jack Doyle is going to be very highly owned because people are scared of Ebron or Doyle.
Yeah.
Now, while Ebron is a little bit of a touchdown hog for whatever reason, he had like
15 touchdowns last year.
15 touchdowns last year, which is just stupid.
Won't happen again.
I've read so many things already, and I know it's just hearsay and talk. Analysts saying, don't be afraid to play Jack Doyle. It's actually good that Jacoby Brissett's throwing the ball.
So he gets a bump.
I think with Jack Doyle gets a bump, and he's at 3,400 here. Plug him in a couple places, but again, be careful because he could go get you 0.
So now we're in the dumpster. Please don't play anybody down here. You just don't have to.
Play Jason with.
Like, you just don't have to be here. We talked about the value at literally every other position. Don't dumpster dive at tight end. Please.
Now, defense, there's not a lot to talk about. Week 1.
For us, it's pretty much 2 defenses, right?
And it's the top 2.
Yeah.
Ravens and Eagles. Listen, a lot of times I don't pay up for defense. It's not what I do because I can go down here, 3,800 as opposed to 22, 21, 2,000. Most of the time I stay right in here, 26, 27. This week it's not there. There's nobody that interests me. Ravens against Miami. Miami has nothing. Well, they've got the best quarterback in the league, but they have absolutely nothing. This right here to me should be such an. It's going to be chalky, sure, but
yeah, and listen, in a normal week, you might not be able to pay up all the way for the best defense, but we talked about it this week. You can do it, no problem.
and if you want to save 200, if that's making you break you,
Eagles, there you go.
Eagles. I'm not interested in either of these because of Saquon on this side, and then going down to.
I'm looking at the Browns. I haven't really thought about it. Like, I'm a Titans fan, and I'm just not sold on our offense yet. I would kind of have to wait and see, but in theory, we have the talent offensively, right, to keep up. It's just like, will Mariota figure it out this year and stay healthy?
The only thing you're hoping for here is Myles Garrett getting about 32 sacks.
And something to note with Garrett is Taylor Lewan, our Pro Bowl tackle, is out with a suspension in Week 1, so Myles Garrett should feast, probably going to get a couple of sacks. So I get the Browns play if you want to be different and pivot from the Ravens or Eagles, but I would have both the Ravens and Eagles above the Browns.
Absolutely. Not a lot to talk about defense. So that's pretty much it. This is our core three right here: Dalvin, Curtis Samuel, and Kittle. And listen, you play 5,500.
And let's
all three of these guys.
Plug in the Ravens defense real quick.
So top tier defense. Even when you play all four, you're left with 58, 80 average. And we already talked about so many running backs and receivers that are 4K. You can pay up. You can pay up a lot this week.
Yeah.
So just fill in your blanks here. As far as who you like. You got two other wide receiver spots. You can pay 4K. You can go up to 7, and it don't matter because you can come right back down to 5 at running back. Another flex here. Pay another 4 for wide receiver.
Yep.
You can go crazy this week. Play Patty. Play whoever you want.
Play Patty. If you want to go double tight end with Kelsey and Kittle, do it. You can do it in Week 1.
I'm gonna have one.
Yeah, you can pay up at running back to one of the studs that we talked about. So, ton of options. You can really make some incredible lineups because that's how they wanted you to do this in Week 1.
They want you to throw in as many lineups as you can.
Which is what we'll be doing.
We're going to be playing pretty heavy. So thank you guys for watching so much. We're kind of new to the whole YouTube thing. But if you enjoyed the video, comment, share it. Also, let us know what we could enhance, what we could fix.
What we can do better.
What you would like to see. If you don't like the core three or you have questions going into the next week about somebody, comment. Let us know. Do something there.
If we were beneficial in your process, let us know. If whenever it comes around and the week is going on, let us know if we helped you win some money.
Or let us know if we lost you a lot. We'll probably get that a lot too.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. We've been playing DraftKings for several years now since we first started college, actually, and we've had so much fun with it. It's it's a Sunday tradition. It's just what we do. Also, I have a podcast called Your Mother's Favorite Podcast I do with my friend Cody. I'll put the link in the description to that. I would love if you could go listen to that. It's just something else that we do.
And I was on an episode.
And he's on an episode.
If you want to hear my voice more.
Talking about fantasy football. For some reason, you like this guy. So thank you all so much. Like, comment, subscribe, and share with as many people as you can. And I hope I see you at the top of the cash line in the Millie Maker. Week 1 DraftKings.